morning, dear learners. Welcome to the teaching learning session of sociology. In our last lecture, we compared and contrasted the perspective of Karl Marx, Emil Durkheim, and Max Weber on religion. Today, we'll continue with that. We'll compare and contrast their perspective on religion, and then eventually we'll move to their perspective on economy. Comparison between Weber and Durkheim. Durkheim stresses the exteriority of social fact, which he regarded as thing. We discussed about the social facts of the Durkheim when while we were discussing about the Durkheim. What is the social fact? Social fact is nothing but the thing which you can study. According to Durkheim, society is sui generis. It exists over and above the individual. According to Durkheim, society is more important than the individual because it is sui generis. It existed before the birth of an individual and will exist even after the individual. According to Durkheim, society imposes certain constraints on an individual, and these constraints make the individual a part of it, and it is very much required for the integrity of the society. While Weber focuses on the role of an individual as an actor, orienting their behavior pattern in terms of their values and beliefs. According to Durkheim, society is important, but according to Weber, individual is important. The actions of an individual is very important. It is important to study the actions of an individual. The task of the sociologist to study these actions through Varsthane or interpretative understanding of why someone is doing something. Unit of analysis, Emil Durkheim studied religion, what he believes is the most elementary form. Ideas are held in common by all individuals, and there is an intensity of shared ideas and feelings. So Durkheim studied the elementary form of religion. A religion and clan organization overlap according to Durkheim. The Durkheim emphasizes the role of religion as a collective consciousness which serves to integrate the social bonds or integration of the society. Right? According to Durkheim, religion is responsible for the integrity of the society because this religion leads to collective consciousness. When the majority agrees to something, then obviously there will be a unity among them. So, religion is a thing which is responsible for collective consciousness, and as a result, it helps in integration of the society. While Weber studied the major feature of the great world religions. He is interested in their historical roots and their capacity to guide and shape the economic activities. Weber wanted to find out the role of a religion in shaping the economic activities and how it helped in guiding the society. We'll discuss about the economy later in this lecture. These world religions are also seen as responses to prevailing social situations. Durkheim emphasizes on tribal religion, visualizes the role of religion in maintaining the social order. Right, so helps in maintaining the social order, integrity of the society. While Weber analysis look at the creative role of a religion in helping to shape a new way of thinking and acting. So, according to Durkheim, a religion helps in social order, in maintaining social order, and it helps in integration of the society. While Weber analysis shows how religion helps and helps to shape the new ways of thinking and acting. A role of religion. Durkheim basically sees religion as expression of collective consciousness. Worshipping the totem is nothing but worshipping the clan itself. Totem, what is totem? Totem is nothing. The sacred thing is totem. So, according to Durkheim, because he studied the primitive religion, so according to Durkheim, totem is important. And what is totem? According to the Durkheim, totem is nothing but worshipping the clan itself, means worshipping the society itself. Society is very important according to Durkheim. Ideas and beliefs cherished by the clans as a whole thus become a part of individual consciousness. So, individual takes the values, beliefs as per the clan or as per the society. So, society is important over the individual. The separation between the sacred and the profane aspect of the word is mediated through certain rites. What is sacred, what is profane, that aspect of word is mediated through the certain rites. The participation of whole clan in some important rites helps to bring about collective enthusiasm, linking individual to the social bonds and making them aware of awesome power of the society. So these are rights, these celebrations, right? These brings the collective consciousness, collective enthusiasm, and this links the social bonds. This helps in integration of the society, and this helps in making aware the individual about the power of society. So in this way the society controls the individual according to Durkheim. While Weber wishes to understand the religion in relation to the economic, political, and historical factors, he sees religion as a part and parcel of a larger historical trend, namely the move towards the capitalism, industrialization, and rationality. We discussed about his work on the um, uh, Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. God's spirit and prophets. Durkheim denies that religion is concerned with mysterious, with gods and spirits. He denied it. Durkheim denied that there is something mysterious or something like prophets or spirits or gods. He holds that object of worship is society itself, transformed and represented through the certain symbolic objects. Right? According to Durkheim, the object of worship is society. Society is the most important thing according to Durkheim. So he denies the existence of God, spirit, prophets, or something mysterious. While Weber uses the idea of God and spirits. Weber is dealing with the religion, which is relatively recent origin as compared to the tribal religion. These religion expresses certain personal qualities and displays certain level of abstraction. He studied about Buddhism, he studied about Jainism, he studied about Confucianism. So the religion these religion expresses certain personal qualities. Buddha, right? Mahavir, right? Hinduism, there are so many gods in Hindus, right? So he studied about these religions, and these expresses the certain personal qualities and displays the certain levels of abstraction. When individual abstract, they engage in symbolic activities. Durkheim argued that the totem is a symbol of clan. Totem, that pure thing, that totem is nothing but the clan itself, but the society itself, right? While Weber takes the example of totem, which while worshipped as a symbol is an animal that is sacrificed, killed, and eaten, right? While eating the animal, clan members believe themselves to be united because the spirit of animal enters them. According to Durkheim, totem is nothing but the symbol of clan. Society is worshipable. Society is the ultimate thing which is worshipable. But according to Durkheim, there is nothing like mysterious thing, spirit and God. According to Durkheim, society is the most important thing for Durkheim. Why? Weber takes an example of totem. He also believed in totem. But what is totem? According to him, while worshipped, totem is worshipped as a symbol and sacrificed and eaten, killed and eaten. While uh, eating that animal, the society or the members feel or believe that they are united because the spirit of animal it enters them. They are united not merely by the totem as an emblem or a symbol, but they are united by sharing the substance of sacred animal, which is not merely a flesh but the spirit. So they feel like that the spirit of that animal or the spirit of that totem, correct word is totem, that pure thing entered in them, so they feel united. Weber, unlike Durkheim, attaches a great importance to prophets in propagating religious beliefs because he studied about the Buddhism, about the Hinduism, and many other recent religions. So he believed in prophets too. They are the charismatic leaders like Abraham, Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, which who capture the imagination and fancy of the people. Religion and science. They compared and contrasted the religion and science. According to Durkheim, both religion and science provides the society with collective representation. The science and religion represents the collective consciousness of the society. The classification of science derives from the religion. So it is the basically the religion is the one is the base of everything, and the science came from the science derived from the religion according to Durkheim. Thus there is no conflict or opposition between the two, right? So he emphasized on the scientific study of the sociology. While Weber comparative study of world religion shows how religious ethics in India and China prevented the growth of capitalism, which basically requires an ethic of mastery of rational calculation. So, according to him, a religion prevented the capitalism and the scientific development in few parts of the world. It is only the Protestant ethic which provide the appropriate worldview of rational capitalism, according to Weber. As per Weber, science is an expression of rationality and a challenge of traditional and mystical claims of the religion. So, according to Weber, science is nothing but the expression of rationality. Science provides the empirical knowledge or verifiable factual information which helps human being to know and master the world. Through science, you can control the world. The science and religion, in Weber's view, exist in contrast to each other. While, according to Durkheim, this science derived from the religion, while according to Weber, the science and religion contrasted to each other. They are in contrast with each other. Durkheim sees religion as means whereby individuals acknowledge their physical and moral power of the society. Religion is way of classifying and ordering concept and thus forerunner of the science. Weber studies religion in terms of meaning for those who follow it and how these meanings help them orient their action in other social activities, how they get inspired by that religion and how they act according to the religion. Next studied about that. Science arises as a challenge to religious idea, deriving a ghost and spirit and replacing them with the empirical observation and factual data. Emile Durkheim studied the primitive religion, views religion as expression of collective consciousness, strictly avoids the concepts like spirit, God, prophets, considered science as an extension of religion and sees no conflict between them. While Max Weber studied the world religion, views religion in relation to the political, economical, and historical factors, makes use of these concepts, and consider now we will compare and contrast the perspective of Emil Durkheim, Max Weber, and the Karl Marx on economy. What they thought about the economy. And Marx lived in an age in which Europe was experiencing the Industrial Revolution. It was a period of Renaissance. Revolution was characterized by shift of technique of production. Because of the industrialization, there was the shift in the technique of production. Now people have started producing in masses. Change took place not just in the economic sphere but other spheres of the life or the society too. Cities and their populations grew, and so did the incidence of poverty, crime, and other social problems. There was a change in economic sphere, but because of these changes in economic sphere, that people started moving towards the cities, and the population of the cities grew. And as the population grew, the incidence of the poverty, crime, and the social problem started creeping up. Social stability order were under threat because of increase in poverty level, because of increase in crime or other social issues. The stability and the social order were under threat. The traditional feudal society was crumbling and the modern industrial world was coming into being. Capitalism arised from the roots of capitalism rise in feudalism, right? Division of labor. This concept was given by Durkheim. The concept of division of labor was systematically discussed by a Scottish economist, Adam Smith, in his work Wealth of Nation in 1776. Wealth of Nation. Smith felt that division of labor was a primary source of economic progress. If any society wants to progress economically, there should be division of labor. It was a vehicle through which economic development would advance, according to Smith. Durkheim's view on division of labor. Durkheim's major concern as a sociologist was the theme of social order and the integration. We discussed it in detail. The era in which Durkheim was there, in that era, there was much disturbance in the society. So, the major concern of the sociologist of that era was to bring peace in the society, to bring integrity in the society. So, for Durkheim, then the Durkheim's major concern was to bring social integration and order. So accordingly, he explained his work. So accordingly, he explained the concepts. According to Durkheim, the basis or focus of social integration differs in pre-industrial and post-industrial society. Obviously, when society is changing, then the social integration, the social order will change. He demonstrates how the process of occupational specialization or division of labor help to integrate society where heterogeneity, differentiation, and complexity are found. Because industrial society is heterogeneous, because the skills of each and every individual differs from one another, there was a differentiation among the individual, and the society, industrial society, is a complex society. So he demonstrated how the division of the labor or occupational specialization helps in the integration of the society. How it integrates the society? Because to accomplish the work, everyone needs others help. right? And this helps in integration of the society. Durkheim classifies human societies into those based on mechanical solidarity and those based on organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. What is mechanical solidarity? Mechanical solidarity refers to solidarity of resemblance or likeness. When all are similar, when all are alike. When we are alike, actually, obviously, there will be solidarity, there will be unity among the units. Right? When we all are human beings, when we all are Indians, we feel like we all are Indians. When we go abroad and when we find Indians, a group of Indians, we feel like that we are Indians, and then obviously a solidarity or the unity comes. This type of solidarity is known as mechanical solidarity, which refers to the resemblance or likeness. There exists a great deal of homogeneity, tightly knit social bonds which serve to make individual member one with their society. Because of homogeneity, because we all are alike, because of tightly knit social bonds, because we are bonded with we are tightly knitted with social bonds, then this makes the individual united. The collective consciousness is extremely strong in mechanical solidarity. Take an example of any community, right? The what is community? In any community there is mechanical solidarity because everyone is alike. They feel like we are the same, so there is a bond between the members of the community. So this is mechanical solidarity. The strength of collective consciousness integrates such society because we are same. Collective consciousness is there. We all feel, we all think alike. We all feel alike. Then this collective consciousness integrates the society, binding together individual member through strong beliefs and values. Right? Violation or deviation from the values is viewed very seriously. You cannot deviate from the values of a society or the community, right? Harsh or repressive punishment is given to the offender. We discussed about this repressive punishment while we were discussing the Amal Durkheim organic solidarity. So, repressive punishment is there in organic solidarity world. Individual differences are extremely limited, and division of labor is at relatively simple level. Why? Because we all are alike. We are all are homogeneous. Our skills are alike. When our skills are alike, how can we divide our work? There will be a simple level of division of labor. In such society, individual consciousness is merged with the collective consciousness. So, society is important than the individual in primitive society or mechanical solidarity. Organic solidarity. Now, what is organic solidarity? Durkheim means a solidarity based on the differences and complementary of differences. Organic solidarity based on the difference. Organic solidarity is based on the differences. Division of labor is very important aspects of such society where organic solidarity presents, right? A society based on the organic solidarity is one where heterogeneity, differentiation, and variety exist. Heterogeneity, everyone is different from another. My skill set could be different from yours, and yours could be different from someone else, right? So heterogeneity exists, differentiation and variety exist in organic solidarity societies. In such societies, the strength of collective consciousness lessens. Matlab, there is less collective consciousness. Individual consciousness become more and more distinct, and individual consciousness is important in organic solidarity societies. Uh, More easily distinguished from collective consciousness. This individual consciousness can be distinguished from the collective consciousness. Individualism become increasingly valued. The kind of grip that social norms have on individual in mechanical solidarity loosens. Individual autonomy and personal freedom become an important in organic solidarity. So personal freedom and individual autonomy is important in mechanical solidarity society, while the society based on the organic solidarity, that collective consciousness is important, right? This is the division of labor. Then he explained, Durkheim explained some abnormal forms of division of labors. Division of labor is very important according to Durkheim, and organic solidarity, especially in organic solidarity based societies. But there are certain abnormal forms of division of labor which Durkheim discussed. First is anomy. This term means a state of normlessness. No norms are there. Material life changes rapidly, but rules, norms, and values do not keep pace with that. Materialistic life changes, but our values, our rules, our norms do not keep pace with it. We cannot change our norms, our values, our culture uh, rapidly, right? While materialistic world or the materialistic life changes rapidly. So this is enemy. There seems to be a total breakdown of rules and norms. When this material life is changing rapidly, but our norms, values, beliefs, culture is not changing at that pace, then it seems to be a total breakdown of norms and rules. In the work sphere, this reflects in conflict between the labor and management, degrading the meaningless work and growing class conflict. While in the working sphere, if we talk about in the working sphere, while the materialistic world is changing rapidly, but norms, values are not keeping pace with that change in the materialistic world. This results in the conflicts between the labors, between the management. This resulted in degradation and meaningless work. Why we are doing this? What is the use of that thing? Meaningless work and growing the class conflict. Individuals are working and producing but fail to see meaning in what they are doing. They are producing the things, they are earning the money because for the survival money is required, but they see meaning, but they fail to see any meaning. Why we are doing this? What productive we are doing? What is the use of this thing? What we are producing, right? So they for labor, they are doing a meaningless work. So this creates a problem, right? This is abnormal division of labor. Let me explain it with example. Suppose in an assembly line, uh, um, uh, a worker is producing some part of a machine, or some part of a machine. They are producing it, but they don't understand what they are doing, what they are producing, what is the use of that thing, right? Because they are unaware of, they are producing a part of a machine, right? Or a part of something which later on become a product, which will help in shaping up a product. But what they are doing, they are just producing something which they don't understand why they are producing, right? This is meaningless work. Second abnormality in division of labor is inequality. Enemy, then the inequality. This is very frustrating to those who want to do more, satisfy a rewarding job, but cannot have access to proper opportunities. Haves and has not. Because they don't have resources. So they wanted to do something productive, but they lack the opportunities. So this frustrates the human beings. Inequality fails to produce long lasting solidarity. Such an abnormal form results in individuals become frustrated and unhappy with their society. So these, when you are unhappy with, when you are frustrated, when you fail to produce, when you are unhappy or frustrated, then this fails to produce a long lasting solidarity, then there will be no unity, right? Next is inadvocate organization. In this abnormal form, the very purpose of division of labor is destroyed. Work is not well organized and coordinated. Workers are often engaged in doing meaningless tasks. There is no unity of action, thus solidarity breaks down and disorder results. When there is inequality, when there is anomy, when there is inadvocate organization, this results in abnormal form of division of labor according to Durkheim. And this abnormal form of division of labor destroys the solidarity. It it destroys the solidarity and the social order of a society. Now, let us discuss the Marx view on division of labor. Marx pinpoints two types of division of labor: social division of labor and division of labor in manufacture. Social division of labor. Social division of labor exists in all societies. It is a process that is bound to exist in order that the member of society may successfully undertake the tasks that are necessary to maintain social and economic life. It exists in all society, social labor, and these are the process that exist in order that the member of society may successfully undertake the task that necessary to maintain the social and economic life. It is a complex system of dividing all the useful forms of a labor in a society. Some individuals produces food, some produces handicrafts, weapons, and so on. Social division of labor promotes the process of exchange of goods between the groups. When while we are producing something, someone else is producing something, then they exchange the product or the goods between the group. That is social division of labor. Next is division of labor in industry or manufacture. In this process, which is prevalent in industrial societies where capitalism and factory system exist. This division of labor in industry is prevalent in industrial society or in the capitalism society, in capitalistic society. In this process, manufacturer of a commodity is broken into number of process. Each worker is limited to performing or engaging a small process like work in assembly line. The purpose of division of labor is simple, is to increase the productivity. In this division of labor in industrial society or capitalistic society, this production is divided into number of processes, and each labor is doing one type of a work. Why is it required? It is required, or it has been done to increase the productivity. Unlike social division of labor, where independent producers create products and exchange them with other independent producer, division of labor in manufacture completely divorces the worker from their product. This is my product. In a social division of product, one produces one product and exchange it with other according to the requirements or the needs of the individual. But while in division of labor in manufacture, this someone is producing a part of a machine, they don't understand what they are producing and why they are producing. According to them, that is not their product. They just sell their time, they just sell their labor and earn wages or the money, right? And this completely divorces the worker from their product, that they are not aware why they are producing and what they are producing. Then they don't feel like this is my work, this is my creation, right? So this divorces the work from his product. Concept of alienation. We discussed about the concept of alienation while we were discussing Karl Marx. Implication of division of labor in manufacture. Profits occur to the capitalist. According to Marx, division of labor and existence of the private property together consolidated the power of capitalist. This division of labor helped the capitalist to earn money and to gain power. Capitalists own the means of production. The production processes is designed and operated in such a way that capitalists benefit most from it, because they are haves. They have the means of production, they have raw material, they have machinery, right? They have money, they can purchase the labor, right? So the production process is designed and operated as per the requirement of the capitalist, so that they can earn more money, right? So capitalist benefits the most from it, not the workers. Second is worker loses control over what they produce. According to Marx, with division of labor in manufacture workers tends to lose their status and the real creators of the goods. That in manufacturing units, they laborers are producing the goods, but they don't feel like, but they don't have attachment with those goods. According to them, that is not their creation. They lose their status as a real creator of the goods. According to them, they are producing the product for someone else. It hardly matters to them what they are doing, why they are producing. Although the what matters to them is they are earning money, because for the survival in this society you need money. So this creates a problem. They don't feel they don't feel like that this is their creation, or uh, they become a mere link in production chain designed and operated by the capitalist. Workers are separated from the products of their labor. In fact, they hardly see the end result of their work. Suppose a worker in a factory is producing a part of a machinery, it hardly, it is impossible or difficult that they see the end results of their work. If they could see the end result of their work, then they could find, then they could understand the meaning of their work, because they are not able, or it is very hard or difficult for them to see the end result of their product. They feel like that their work is meaningless, and this creates the problem. The actual control over it is exercised by the capitalist. The worker as an independent producer no longer exists. The worker has become enslaved by the production process. Worker has to work according to the process, production process, as per the requirements of the capitalist. A dehumanization of the working class. According to Marx, this division of labor is responsible for the dehumanization of working class. Worker becomes the supplier of labor power which is needed for production, right? Workers are just the labor power which is required for the production, and the worker's individual personality, needs, and desire mean nothing to the capitalist. What a worker required, what is the requirement of the worker, the personality of the worker hardly matters to the capitalist. They see the worker just as a link in the supply chain management. The working class is thus stripped of the humanness and the labor power become a mere commodity purchased by the capitalist. The labor power, the worker, is nothing but a commodity for the capitalist which they purchase for their production. Let us compare between the Durkheim and Marx causes of division of labor. Durkheim explained the division of labor in industrial society as a consequences of industrial, material, and moral density. It makes the teamwork and the coexistence possible. According to Durkheim, division of labor is responsible for coexistence and teamwork. Marx too considers the division of labor in manufacture a feature of industrial society. It is a feature of industrial society, but unlike Durkheim, Marx doesn't see it as a means of cooperation and coexistence. According to Marx, it is not a means of coexistence, cooperation, or the teamwork. Rather, he viewed it as a process forced upon the worker in order that the capitalist might extract the profits. According to Marx, this division of labor is a process that has been forced upon the worker by the capitalist so that they can extract the profit from them. Consequences of division of labor. In normal situation, division of labor contributes to the social integration by giving each individual a specialized activity to perform. We discussed about the abnormal form of the division of labor, but the normal form of division of labor helps in the cooperation, coexistence, and the integration of the society. Each can develop his or her power of creativity and innovation in his or her specialized task. When one is specialized in something, then they can increase their productivity or innovation by specializing in that task. Marx sees division of labor as a process imposed on the worker by the capitalist. Marx sees the division of labor as a process imposed on the worker by the capitalist. It leads to dehumanization of the workforce. Alienation results, workers are reduced to the things. Because this division of labor is imposed by the capitalist on the worker, according to Marx, this leads to the dehumanization because workers are nothing but a commodity for the capitalist which they have produced for their production, right? And this alienation results. Alienation is what? That they feel worker uh, uh, don't don't attach to their creations. They feel that this is not my creation, they are producing something for someone else. Alienation resulted because of division of labor, because the labor is hardly able to see what they are producing, what is the end result of their production. So alienation resulted. They don't feel that, they don't attach to the product they are producing, and they are reduced just to the commodity or to the things. Their creativity, their control over their creation is taken away. Their labor become a commodity that can be bought and sold at the marketplace. Thus, they become mere part of production process rather than the producer themselves. Their personalities, their problems means nothing to the employers or the capitalist. They are regarded as nothing more than the work machine. Thus, they are literally dehumanized. Being part of a system they cannot control, they suffer from alienation at all levels, from their work, their fellow workers, and the social system itself. They alienated from their work, they alienated from their fellow workers because they have to compete, because they have to survive. Then they compete with their fellow workers, and they alienate from the social system itself. So, according to Durkheim, this division of labor is responsible for coexistence, coordination, and the unity, while, for according to Marx, this division of labor leads to dehumanization, alienation, and problems, and various other problems for the workers. Now, the solutions to the problem related to divisions of labor. Anomy, according to Durkheim, can be handled by making workers conscious of their role in this society. When you are aware what you are producing, what you are doing, what is the end results of your production, then you can make them aware what they are doing. So, anomy can be handled by making them feel organically linked and involved with the life of society. The frustration of doing meaningless work can be eased. Meaninglessness will then be changed into the awareness of the significance of their productive role. When you are aware, when a worker is aware why they are producing those parts, while they are doing that task, when they come to know about the end result of their product, this will bring the awareness in them, and this will help in dealing with enemy. This will help in dealing with enemy. According to Marx, capitalism itself is a problem. The way out is through revolution, though which worker gain control over the means of production. They will then organize and operate the production process in such a manner that dehumanization and alienation will become the thing of the past. According to Durkheim, if you want to uh, solve this enemy problem, it is important to make aware the worker about their production, about their creation, why they are producing something, what is the end result of their production. But according to Musk, capitalism is a problem in itself, and only solution is revolution. Through revolution, worker will gain the control over the means of production, and while the worker will gain the so- control over the means of production, that the problem of dehumanization and alienation will be solved. Durkheim's functional model of society and Marx's conflict model. Durkheim does not merely look at the economic aspect of division of labor, but rather its social aspects, its contribution to the social integration. According to Durkheim, this division of labor is responsible for the solidarity, for the unity, for the integration of the society. That's why he discussed the terms organic solidarity and mechanical solidarity. So, division of labor is important as per the economic aspect, but it is more important for the integration of the society. But according to Marx, the human history, Marx views the human history as a history of class struggle, or a series of struggle between the oppressor and the oppressed. Capitalism is the phase in human history that marked the struggle between the bourgeois and the proletariat. We discussed about the class conflict while we were discussing the class conflict theory of Marx, right? Marx studied the various various societies, and the capitalism capitalism uh, is a result of breakdown of the feudal system. And there was why feudal system break down, because of the struggle between the feudals and the proletariats. There was a struggle between the worker class, between the oppressor class and the oppressed class, and this resulted in the arise of the capitalistic society. So capitalism is phase in the human history marked by the struggle between the bourgeois and the proletariat. The system of production that exists under capitalism is designed to exploit the worker. As per Marx, this system of capitalism is exploiting the worker. It is designed to exploit the worker. The Durkheim sees society as a system held together by integrative contribution of various of its institutions. The various institutions contributes in the integration of the society, while Marx sees history as a series of struggles between the haves and have-nots. This leads to the conflict and change. Durkheim, according to the Durkheim, various institutions of the society contributes in the integration of the society, and this and thus the division of labor helps. While according to the Marx, history is a series of struggle between the haves and the have not, and this leads to the conflict and changes. Right now, let us compare and contrast, discuss about let me give an idea about Durkheim and Marx's view on economy. According to Marx, according to Durkheim, this division of labor is required for the integration of the society. It helps it helps to unite the society. It is required because of division of labor, the heterogeneity, especially in industrial. Okay, Durkheim discussed the two types of solidarity: organic solidarity and mechanical solidarity. And he discussed these solidarity on the basis of the division of labor. According to division of labor, there are two types of solidarities: mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity is mechanical solidarity exists in primitive societies where the society is homogeneous, where all members of the society are alike, their skills are alike. In these types of society, the collective consciousness matters a lot. Society consciousness or the collective consciousness is more important than the individual consciousness, and this collective consciousness is responsible for the solidarity or to bring the peace or the integration in the society. Everyone has to follow the society everyone has to follow the rules of the society. If someone differs or someone deviates from the rules, then the harsh punishment will be given or is given to the individual, or the repressive law works in mechanical societies. Organic solidarity. Organic solidarity exists in those society where there is heterogeneity, where there is differentiation, where there are the skills of the individuals differ from one another. One is specialized, one person is specialized in something and another is specialized in another thing. In this society, the division of labor helps in integration of the society. How it helps in integration of the society? Because everyone needs everyone's help. A carpenter needs a teacher's help, a teacher's needs a barber's help, and a barber needs farmers help to survive, right? So they all depends on each other, and because of their specialization in something, this helps in integration of the society, right? Then he discussed about, for according to Durkheim, so as according to Durkheim, this division of labor is required for integration, for the teamwork, for the cooperation, and for the coexistence of the society. So it helps in coexistence, in teamwork, and in cooperation of the society. But then he discussed about the some abnormal forms of the labor. These abnormal forms of the labor uh, uh, are because of anomie. Anomie is when one feels like they are doing meaningless work. Why we are doing this? We are not aware about this. Then eventually one loses interest in his or her work, right? Then this is anomie. This is abnormal form of division of labor. Second is because of inequality, right? Because everyone is not getting equal opportunities to work, so this is abnormal form of division of labor. So according to Weber, if one wants to handle this abnormal forms of uh, division of labor, especially enemy, it is very important that a worker should be aware what they are doing and why they are doing, what is the end result of their process or of their product. If they are aware about the end result of their production or about their process, they will not feel like that they are doing the meaningless work. So it is very important to make them aware about the end product of their production and how important their work is. When they come to know that their work is very important, without their work, the end product, if one cannot produce the end product, they will not feel like that their work is meaningless. As per the Marx, capitalism is a problem in itself. Capitalism is the result of conflict between the oppressor and the oppressed in the feudal system. The feudal system, the breakdown of the feudal system resulted in capitalism. In capitalism, the division of labor is responsible for the dehumanization of the worker. The worker alienated from their product. They don't feel like, they don't attached with their product. They just produce, they just sell their labor, and they just produce, they are just working as a link between the supply chain line. They don't feel like that, they don't feel that this production or this product is my product, this is my creativity. They alienated from their product, and they alienated from their product, they alienated from their fellow workers, as well as they alienated from their social order or from their society. This makes the workers' conditions pathetic. This, according to Marx, the solution to this problem is just a revolution. He has given the theory of class struggle. Because of the revolution, when the oppressed class have the means of production, when they have the means of production, they will start producing in such a way that this concept of alienation, dehumanization will vanish. So, according to Marx, this problem can be solved through revolution, and this will be resulted, this capitalism will vanish one day because of certain internal problems of the capitalism, and this will result in a new social order, and he named that social order the communism. That's all for today. We'll continue with this topic in our next lecture. Thank you very much. नमस्कार।